Welcome to Car Testing Stories. This time we're going to talk about acceleration times, specifically a nitty-gritty but super important detail about how they're calculated. They can both wildly distort them and mislead you. What does it mean to say a car gets a certain 0 to 60 time? In particular, what does that 0 mean? 0 seconds, right? Let's get into this by comparing the 0 to 60 runs of the Mazda CX-90 PHEV, which has a 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine paired with an electric motor, and the CX-90 that's powered by a turbocharged 3.3-liter inline six-cylinder engine. Here's a typical graph showing both of these accelerating to 60 using a stamp pedal start and full power. They're essentially tied, right? But look over here when both cars start. Why aren't they starting at 0 miles per hour? Because, traditionally and archaically, the time starts only after the vehicle is already moved 1 foot. Basically, the effect of old drag strip starting lights has gotten baked into how modern test equipment software crunches its numbers, seriously distorting reality. Actually, at this 0 seconds, the CX-90 PHEV is already doing 2.7 miles per hour, while the inline 6 version is doing 3.1. That's crazy. So let's look at those same two runs again, but actually starting each of them super close to 0 miles per hour, 0.2, as exactly discerning 0 remains tricky. The two curves are still very close, but both times are now about a half a second slower. Now let's take another step on our quest for honest 0 to 60 times, meaning 0 is when the pedal is depressed. Not everyone will agree with me on this, but I think the fairest and most honest way to think of a car's acceleration is to have the time start when the pedal goes down. That's you're asking the car to go. And also, with the traction control left on and no launch control or brake torquing antics by a super skilled test driver, you'd get quicker numbers, but honestly, who does any of this in the real world? There's just no time for stuff like pushing buttons or bringing revs to an ideal RPM. You just gotta go, and you stamp the pedal. Here's what that looks like. Wow, right? Suddenly, there's a big difference. While that CX-90 PHEV quickly starts to move, the inline 6 is motionless for about a half a second while the turbo spools and the drivetrain wakes up. Here's a situation where the PHEV's quick electric motor response clearly helps. Now we see how they compare without that free 1 foot of motion and with their response times included. And finally, we see that the PHEV is actually the quicker of these two CX-90s.